In 2004, Adam Brundage was a 26-year-old Pennsylvania resident and doting father of 2 children. He was reclusive, an avid reader, enjoyed coin collecting, and was very attached to his 2 cats. He worked for Applegate Farms, which is an organic food warehouse in the Milford Township. He recently received $150,000 in inheritance after his father passed away. He decided to use $80,000 of it to put a down payment on a townhouse located at 5 Meadow Court in Quakertown. He later met a man in his early 20s named Damon Smoot through a mutual friend. He started living with Adam in September of 2004 and paid board to him, which was used to help offset some of the bills. On the 4th of October 2004, the pair went to Smoot's workplace called Haynes and Kibblehouse Quarry, which was located in Chalfont. Brundage needed to purchase some sand from there to fix a grading issue at his property. Smoot worked there as a heavy machine operator. A heated argument followed. Smoot went into his truck and grabbed a baseball bat out and hit Brundage in the back of the head. He used so much force that it caved Brundage's skull in. He began having seizures, then fell unconscious, but he was still alive. Smoot was determined to finish him off, so he put his hand over his face to cover his nose and mouth, suffocating him until he stopped breathing. He then buried him deep in a sand berm, using the heavy machinery within the quarry next to an asphalt plant. After this happened, Smoot continued to live in Brundage's home, like it was his, and started driving his prized 1997 maroon Mercury Cougar. He also started providing numerous inconsistent accounts of Brundage's whereabouts with his family in Iowa and the local police. Brundage's stepmother spoke to Smoot 3 times on the 12th of November 2004, first telling her that Brundage had gone to Wisconsin because he was wanted on an arrest warrant, then saying he had left because he had cancer. He later told her that Brundage had gone to West Virginia for drug rehabilitation. On the same day, he told Quakertown police that Brundage left the area because he owed money for child support and had gone to Iowa, then West Virginia. Smoot explained to Brundage's family that the man had gifted him the home and his car. No one believed him and asked him to provide proof, which he couldn't. Brandy Scott, Brundage's 26-year-old ex-girlfriend and mother to his children, reported him missing when she couldn't contact him. Quakertown police investigated his disappearance from October through to November of that year, sparking a huge police search before exhausting leads and eventually closing the case. Authorities reopened the case in April of 2019, but there are no employment or financial activities tied to Brundage since he went missing. After more than 15 years of lies, and after facing unspecified evidence with pressure building against him, Smoot finally confessed to the authorities as part of a plea deal on the 9th of January 2020 to taking Brundage's life. He admitted that he was jealous of his lifestyle and wanted it for himself, including his house and car. He led them to his remains, which he recalled was close to a telephone pole that was there in 2004. On the 16th of January 2020, a team of investigators dug throughout the day and night until Brundage's remains were recovered. His remains were then returned to his family for a proper burial. The investigators admitted that they would have never found his remains if it weren't for Smoot's cooperation. The mystery of his disappearance was finally solved. Smoot, who is now 37 years of age, was already serving a 10-year prison sentence for a separate 2011 domestic assault incident. On the 14th of September 2020, during his final court hearing, Smoot pleaded guilty to taking his life. He was sentenced to between 20 to 40 years in jail and will become eligible for parole at the age of 62.
On the 5th of July, 1980, a young woman's lifeless body was discovered in a grapefruit grove in Fontana, California, near Live Oak and Santa Ana Avenues. She had dirt covering her head, and her pantyhose and dress were both removed. The victim was identified as 18-year-old Michelle Missy Jones. During the autopsy, it was revealed that she had been indecently assaulted when she was slain. Forensic evidence was collected, but technology at the time did not allow it to be connected to an offender. The case eventually went cold for 40 years after all investigative leads were exhausted. The case was reopened early in 2020, and the items collected during Jones's autopsy were sent to a DNA lab for processing. Eventually, the DNA was entered into the CODIS database, but no positive matches were found. Detectives re-interviewed family members, which led them to 66-year-old Leonard Nash as a person of interest. He was the victim's eldest sister's boyfriend at the time Jones's life was taken. The youngest sister, Kimberly Jones, said she never really much cared for Nash. He wasn't, however, directly suspected during the initial rounds of interviews in 1980 by the family or the police. It's only after the crime did he rarely visit anymore, which aroused suspicions after being re-questioned by the authorities decades later. In June 2020, investigators found Nash in Las Vegas. After collecting his DNA from discarded items, the lab compared this to Jones's autopsy. They found a match. Nash, who was 26 at the time of the crime, was arrested on the 8th of September 2020. Nash was taken into custody in Las Vegas and is currently being housed at the Clark County Detention Center in Nevada on a fugitive warrant from another state. He is currently waiting extradition to San Bernardino County in California. During a press conference, Fontana Police Department Detective Katie Clark said, "I want to make it very clear to the family that she was never a piece of trash to us and she was never forgotten." She went on to say, "It means more to me than you can imagine to solve a case with my partners from 40 years ago." Family members also made speeches at the press conference when police shared news of the suspect's arrest. Jones's sister Melissa Jones said, "I just wish my mom was here and my dad was here. I am happy that he is caught. I am happy that we got closure."
At 8 a.m. on the 24th of October 1996, a mother was walking her children to school when she made a horrifying discovery. She found the lifeless body of an unidentified young woman with long blonde hair laying in a quiet residential lane near the corner of 12th Avenue and Iola Street, Aurora, Colorado. She had been viciously beaten and repeatedly stabbed. Officers were alerted and rushed to the scene. To assist with the investigation, authorities reached out to local newspapers and TV reporters, asking to publicise the case. Witnesses came forward and police were able to identify the victim as 25-year-old Tangi Sims. She'd grown up in Chattanooga, Tennessee. She attended a Baptist church and worked at a Bojangles' famous chicken and biscuits restaurant as a cook. The initial investigation showed Sims was last seen walking towards a semi-trailer with a sleeper cab but without a trailer attached near the corner of East Folax Avenue and Joliet Street in Aurora. It was also determined that the suspect cut himself during the vicious attack and left drops of his DNA at the scene. Samples were collected for evidence. After a lengthy and thorough investigation, detectives were not able to identify a suspect and the case went cold. In 2019, advancements in DNA combined with the genealogical research led to a break in the case with the assistance of United Data Connect. A forensic genealogist helped identify a possible suspect by comparing the traces of DNA from the crime scene to the DNA from a close relative. Detectives immediately followed up on the new lead. Their investigation took them to numerous states, where they located an immediate family member of the suspect. That family member was cooperative and provided a DNA sample. The laboratory was able to positively identify Wesley Backman, who was born in 1955, as the person responsible for taking Sims's life. He passed away in 2008. Backman had been an over-the-road truck driver and had lived in many different locations, including Aurora. This also ties in with the witness account of seeing Sims walk towards a truck when she was last seen alive.